If you asked a non-F1 fan to name an F1 team, it's almost certain that the team they'll think of first will be Ferrari. And for good reason. They're the only F1 team that's been on the grid since the first World Championship race, and in that time they've almost always had a car that can win races. Now, they've just come out of a very difficult few years in the sport, going from fighting for the championship in 2018 to fighting for points in 2020. This year though, they seem to finally have a car that can fight for a championship again. But do they have the team that can win it? Well, I don't really think so. Mistakes are already starting to creep in for the Scuderia, and Red Bull have put a huge lead in the championship, with a car that at the start of the season looked as though it would struggle to get to the end of a race. So in this video I wanted to highlight just how much Ferrari has struggled this season, and answer the question, are Ferrari cracking under pressure? After a fairly strong start to the season where Ferrari took a 1-2 after both Red Bull cars failed to finish and a 2-3 in Saudi Arabia, Ferrari left the opening rounds with a huge lead over Red Bull. This gap was widened again when Verstappen's engine blew up in Australia, and so the team went into Imola with a lead of 49 points over Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship, and with Leclerc leading Verstappen in the drivers' standings by 46 points. Now, Red Bull looked comfortably the faster car in Imola, with Verstappen out-qualifying Leclerc by almost a whole second and finishing the sprint 3 seconds clear, taking 8 points and reducing Leclerc's lead to 45. In the race, Leclerc was beaten off the line by Sergio Perez and Lando Norris, and while he had no trouble passing Lando, he was struggling to keep up with Checo. In the latter stages of the race, while pushing to get DRS, he spun off the chicane and hit the wall, slightly breaking his front wing. Of course, this was a huge error for Charles, but the bigger one was when Ferrari called him into pit. While the front wing was obviously broken, it was very close to the end of the race, so Leclerc could easily have taken it to the finish line in what would probably have been 4th place. But instead, Ferrari called him into pit, meaning he actually finished 6th. Of course, if Leclerc had a broken wing last year, then pitting would have probably been the best option, but when he was in the 2nd fastest car that day, and he was already the only remaining Ferrari driver in the race, calling him in to change the wing was just stupid, and probably cost Ferrari 4 points. This mistake from Leclerc allowed Red Bull to take a 1-2 finish and claim back a huge amount of points on the Scuderia, reducing their lead in the Constructors' Championship to just 11 points. Max was once again the fastest car in Miami, so Ferrari did well to take the remaining 2 podium spots. But even so, Red Bull's deficit to Ferrari was now just 6 points. In Spain, Leclerc looked quickest all weekend, taking pole and leading the race up until lap 27 when the Ferrari engine blew up. Suddenly, it wasn't Red Bull we had to think about the reliability of, it was Ferrari. As a result of the DNF, Verstappen took a 3rd win on the trot and Red Bull gained the lead of both championships. And of course, it didn't help that Carlos Sainz wasn't there to take the other podium place. Monaco was another Ferrari disaster class, where after locking out the front row in qualifying, all they needed to do was not mess up the strategy. And so naturally, they messed up the strategy, calling Leclerc into pit for tyres he didn't want and basically hanging him out to dry. And while he did finally finish a home race, he only managed 4th place from pole. Meanwhile, Sergio Perez took his first win of the season ahead of Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen, which widened the lead that Red Bull had over Ferrari. Charles Leclerc took another pole position in Baku with Sainz in 4th. Sainz's hydraulics failed on lap 8 and Leclerc's engine failed on lap 21, meaning Ferrari walked away from another weekend that they should have won with nothing. As a result of the engine failure in Baku, Leclerc had to take a penalty last weekend in Canada, and while he had a good race to recover back to P5, it still wasn't enough, and Verstappen's lead currently sits at 46 points, meaning that since Australia, Max has scored 92 more points than Charles Leclerc, and as a team, Red Bull have scored 125 more. Let's assume that Ferrari's blunder in Imola cost them 2 points, Leclerc's DNF in Spain cost them 34, their nightmare in Monaco cost them 26, and the failures in Baku and subsequent engine penalty cost them 52 points. I'm working this out based on not just the points that Ferrari didn't get, but also the points that Red Bull got essentially for free if they were running behind Ferrari. That means that as a team they've missed out on 114 potential points, which is huge considering the swing in the Constructors' Championship from Australia until now is only 125. Essentially on raw pace the two teams have been very closely matched, but one team is making far more mistakes than the other, which has already put them miles out of touch of the championship. So who or what is to blame? Well, firstly is the Ferrari engine. After running it on lower power in the early stages of the season to ensure it was reliable, Ferrari took it up to max power and almost instantly it's turned into a mobile barbecue. Reliability has accounted for 2, possibly 3 of the lost race wins, and it's not just Ferrari who have been affected. Both Alfa Romeo and Haas have had terrible reliability this season, and it'll come as no surprise that they use Ferrari engines. In Baku, there were 4 DNFs before lap 32 which were caused by Ferrari's reliability. The only car that wasn't powered by Ferrari was an Aston Martin, which retired due to a vibration, not the engine. Ferrari's reliability cost Mick another chance at getting his first points on Sunday, with the engine failing while he was running in 7th, and spare a thought for Zhou Guanyu, who's had 3 DNFs thanks to his engine, despite genuinely looking really strong this season. The second thing that's to blame is Ferrari's strategy. It's how they lost the win in Monaco and cost themselves points in Imola. It's weird, because this team has been in the sport longer than any other, and yet they still can't work out how to win a race. It's almost like every race they're purely reacting to what Red Bull do rather than being the trendsetter and trying to win on strategy. And then of course there's Carlos Sainz. Now he does seem to be finding his feet now, but at the start of the season he made loads of mistakes and caused a fair amount of damage to the car. And in an era with the budget cap in place, the last thing you want to do if you're fighting for a championship is have to repair your car every race. As I say, he's been pretty decent recently, but still he's not been able to find a race win, meaning Ferrari aren't able to rely on him as much if Leclerc makes a mistake or has his engine blow up. Probably the latter. So can they turn this season around? Well, in my opinion, no they can't. Yes, they're still fairly close to the lead of the Drivers' Championship, but Red Bull seem unstoppable at the moment, and it's going to take a lot more than just having a reliable engine to take this lead off them. Even if Leclerc took the win and fastest lap every race from now, it would still take him 5 races to catch back up to Max if he finished second, and if Sainz was third and Perez fourth behind those two, then it would take them 6 to retake the lead of the Constructors. Now, maybe I'll be eating my words at the end of the season, and even as a hardcore Red Bull fan, I've been cheering Ferrari on this season simply because I don't want a boring championship. So I really hope that Ferrari can get out of this rut and get back to the championship fight. Every race is a new opportunity to win, after all. Ferrari are the only team on the grid with more fans than Red Bull, so it's important not just for the team but for the sport as a whole that Ferrari stay in this fight. But ultimately, nobody can help them but themselves. So Ferrari have a lot of work to do. But yeah, thank you for listening to another load of my waffle, and hopefully you enjoyed it along the way. If you did, then a sub would be much appreciated, and if you do that, then I will see you in the next one. Bye!